Doesn't, then we'll just continue. Haribol, we're live. Sorry, I tried 4 or 5 times and it just said live streaming isn't available. So that's the reason we're a little bit later. But we'll finally start. And just before I start, I'd just like to say again, everyone on this call on YouTube, on this live stream, please do bless me so that I may be able to say something useful and I may be able to help in Srila Prabhupada's mission. We'll start off with a quick kirtan and then we'll head into the lecture. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gokula Nanda, Radha Gokula Nanda Radhe, Radha Gokula Nanda, Radha Gokula Nanda Radhe. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Shri Hari Ram Sankirtan Yajna ki Jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki Jai. Hare Krishna, everyone. Hari Bol. So, can everyone hear me? Am I audible? Hare Krishna, Purushottam Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Rajkumar Prabhu. Always very encouraging and supportive of this. Hare Krishna, Anuradha Mataji. Hare Bol Shashi Mataji. Thank you to see all of you here today. Please do bless me that I may be able to give some class which is useful and which is in line with the teachings on Krishna consciousness. I've still not got any response to see. Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Okay, so this class is going to be a little bit different to the other classes, and I'd like to say this is heavily inspired by Sutapa Prabhu. Thank you very much, Shashi Mataji. So yes, we can be heard. That's nice to see. This class is inspired by Sutapa Prabhu's class titled Road to Bhakti, which he gave yesterday, and a lot of the class points are going to be very similar, but I've also added a couple of other things that will make it more useful to this group as well, that we're doing it to. And the reason I'm doing this one is because I felt like the points in this really touched me. They really made sense. That's something that I've personally experienced and I totally understand. And I thought like it would be a really good topic to share. And also, before I start this class, next week onwards, we are going to be starting a new series. And just keep an eye out for that. I won't say too much more than that. Okay. Please, again, all the assembled Vaishnavas, please give me their blessings. And we'll start off with the invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tato Jayam Mudhiraye.
Tato Jayamudiraye.
Hare Krishna. So this topic is very interesting because even though we talk about bhakti and Krishna consciousness so much, we often forget the most basic things every now and then. Hare Krishna Ram Prabhu. Nice to see you here as well, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Krishna Prabhu as well. So it starts off, the whole of this idea is we need to understand the fundamentals in society before we actually move on to Bhakti itself. Hare Krishna Shikha Mataji. So before we focus on importance of Krishna consciousness or anything like that, we just need to start off from ground level. And this is why I found really interesting. And I'll also mention the verse as well later. So we live in a world which is full of lies. We live in a world where everyone tells lies constantly. And I don't know how interactive we're able to be, but if it's possible, please do use the live chat on YouTube. But everyone tells lies. Everyone has told lies. Some people that are in this video, on this live stream right now, have told a lie this week. Some people have told a lie today as well. But the nature of the material world is that it's full of lies. And that's all right, because it's understandable. However, if a lie is told loud enough and long enough, then what happens to that lie? That lie becomes a truth. And people take it as fact. If you say the same thing over and over and over again, even though it's not true, if you say it with enough confidence, if you're loud enough, and you say it and stick to that story over and over again, so you say it long enough, then that lie will become a truth. And when it becomes accepted as a truth by not just one person or two people, when many people, thousands of people start accepting this so-called truth, which is actually a lie, then they start to live by that truth, or they'll start to believe that, and they'll try to apply that. So when they apply this so-called truth, and when many people agree with it and many people start believing it, then that truth becomes culture. And that's a way that people start living by, and it affects their day-to-day lives. And it affects the way they act, the way they talk, the way they listen to other people, the way they look at the world. It changes their perception. And so these lies or these so-called truths become part of society as culture. And so many people will carry on, and it will spread far and wide. And then after this lie has been told to people and they start practicing it as culture, it's passed down from one generation to the next. And then again from that generation to the next. And what do we call it when culture becomes passed down from generation to generation to generation, etc., etc.? When culture is passed down like this, it becomes tradition. People say that, oh, I'm doing this because it's my tradition. My ancestors have done it, my parents have done it, my grandparents have done it. Sometimes they don't even know what they're doing necessarily, but they just do it for tradition's sake. And it becomes a bit more ritualistic as well. And so a lie, if told loud enough and long enough, becomes the truth. That can become culture, and then that can end up affecting society for generations upon end. And this tradition can actually be completely false. But because enough people believe in it, it's widely accepted as fact. And some examples, I don't know if anyone, I know there's a little bit of delay in the chat, but please do feel free to add in the chat at any point if you feel like there's anything that you want to say. These traditions, we see them in society a lot today as well. And some examples that I've got are, okay, so the first tradition, which is actually a lie, or began from a lie, is that we need to eat meat for a healthy diet. You know, when you eat meat, you can get these proteins, and then there's so many more advantages. They said that if you eat meat, then you'll be able to get things that you can't get when you're eating just vegetarian diet, etc., etc. You know, it's very necessary in our diet to have meat as a source of food. But in actuality, after more and more research, they started saying that our canine teeth, are used to rip apart meat. And so they were saying that we're actually carnivores. But then after looking again into it, they said that actually, no, these teeth are not meant for that. These teeth are meant for just how rabbits and other herbivores, they have teeth where they can bite through things like cucumbers and carrots. This actually is not for cutting through meat. But because society has been told this lie that meat eating is necessary and that we need to eat meat for a healthy diet, people are struggling to give up meat. People struggle so much. And one of their biggest excuses is that, oh, but we like the taste of it. And so this is just another example that sometimes what seems fact in society today is not actually factual. And I think eating meat is a great example. Another one that we can say is that people think you're only successful if you have money. Now, this one's even more interesting because a lot of people think they will say, if you're talking to them, they'll say, you don't just need money to be successful. But then again, they think, oh, look at this person. He's got this sort of car. He's got this sort of house. If I had that, that would be better for me. And so society has propagated that if you have money, then you'll be more successful. Ram Prabhu's put Ganesh is the first god. That become a tradition. No, it's there that we need to respect Ganesh before anything. But he's not the first god. Yeah, he's there. Whenever we do anything, we respect him first as a servant of the Lord. We don't treat him as God or on that level. But he's a great devotee of the Lord, and we should respect him like that. Another example: religion is superstition. Science is the only way forward, even though science is constantly changing. And what was science 20 years ago isn't the science that we know today. And that is part of the scientific process. I understand that. But that's because science deals with material knowledge, which is ever changing. Whereas there's this other side of knowledge, which is that spirituality can provide, which we can't see through material logic and knowledge. And so this is another line. The final one I've got here is, beauty is in looks. Everyone knows that beauty is in the heart of a person, the way they act, their character, their mannerisms. But still, people, let's say when we go to the supermarket, you check in your car window, just see, is my hair all right? Am I looking great? Is there anything on my hair? What's that on my ear? You know, we're always looking still, even though we know that there is no need, we know what true beauty is. We still, because we've heard so much in society, we still think that these things are factual, and they have and we think that these things are factual, and we struggle to move away from them. So these are just examples of lies being told that end up becoming fact in today's society. I've just seen, okay, Anuradha Mataji, money buys power. That's a very good example because people think that, if only I can change the world if I have money. Only I can do this if I have money. Money can help in situations, but that's a different story. But my point is that that's a great example of how tradition has been born out of a lie. Sun is not God, but just a star. Yeah, the fact that these demigods don't exist, all of this is mythology, and that all of this is nonsense. These sort of facts that we're now thinking in today's society, and they're propagated especially even by people where they're giving up their own culture to propagate things like this. And basically the point that I'm explaining here, that I've stated for a fair number of examples, I hope people have understood, is it's born out of lie. These things are born out of lies. This is the material world that we live in today. And so if you want happiness, if you want to become truly content, then you can't look in a place which is full of falsehood and lies. And so we are now looking for the right things, but we're looking in the wrong place. This is a really important point to mention, right? We're looking for the right things, but we're looking in the wrong place for these things. And we'll talk about Krishna consciousness and related to that later, and spirituality. Not just Krishna consciousness, any spirituality realistically. But when we look for the right things, we might have the right intentions. We might think that we're looking for the right things, we're doing the right thing, but you can't look in the wrong place. You can't say, oh, okay, I want gold. I want to get gold, and then go to a coal mine. In a coal mine, you'll get coal. There's a very little chance that you'll find gold in that place. But if you go to a gold mine where there is meant to be gold, then you're more likely to find that gold. So if you go looking for one thing in a place where it doesn't exist, you're not going to get it. If you look for the right, even if you have the right intentions and you're looking in the wrong place, then we'll have several problems. We'll have 4 fundamental problems. I'd recommend writing these down if anyone is taking notes. But if we're looking for the right things in the wrong places, the first thing we feel is futility. We look at it and go, I don't get it. Why is it not working? Why is it not working? I've tried this many times. I've done this, and that. Why is it not working? And then we become dejected as well because of that futility, because we're unable to do what we want. The next one is insubstantiality. I said that wrong. Insubstantiality. The thing that we're looking for doesn't satisfy us in the first place. If you go to a coal mine and look for gold, and you spend extensive amount of time looking, even if you get gold, you'll just get a teeny little microscopic bit. And you won't become satisfied by the amount of effort that you've put in just to get the amount that we get out. And it doesn't satisfy us. So even if you're looking for happiness, even if you're looking for prosperity, but you're looking material, you're looking, for example, in a relationship, you're looking for a relationship with a significant other in the material world, and you're looking just for them, and you think that if I get that, I will be happy, then that's not how it works, because everything material is insubstantial. It won't satisfy us. The third thing I'd like to say about looking for the right thing in the wrong places is that it's temporary. Even if you get it, even if you get some happiness, it doesn't last. That happiness wears out very quickly, and we become frustrated because of that as well. And the fourth thing about looking for the right things in the wrong places is that we get the duality. And I'll explain that point a little bit more. So it has side effects. Everything that happens has side effects to it in the material world. What are they called? No, I don't know these. I forgot what they're called. The boxing, they're like a box shape, and you put them in cassettes. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit too young for cassettes. But in a cassette, you have a little reel, and on that reel you have a track A and a track B. On one side you have track A, and another side you have track B. I'm sorry, all the people in this call are going to be looking at me like, oh, what? He doesn't even know what a cassette is. So it has a track A and a track B. And sometimes you get a cassette and you love the song on track A, but you don't really like the song on track B. You're buying it for track A. But when you buy the cassette, you can't say, oh, I just want track A. I just want one side. When you buy the cassette, you get track A and track B together. So similarly, in the material world, everything has a duality. Everything has an opposite. So whenever you get happiness in the material world, you will also get the same amount of misery. That's just the way of this world. That's just the way that the material world works. And so everything has these side effects. Everything has these dualities, and they have, even if you're looking for a good thing, there also a bad thing ends up coming out as well, because we're looking in the wrong place. So the 4 things that I've just said: it's futile, it's insubstantial, it's temporary, and it has side effects. There's duality. And so what can we do to change this? I'd like to mention as well, just because you have the right intentions doesn't mean that you will get the best outcome. I know a lot of motivational speakers and people will always say, as long as your intentions are pure. It's not just about having pure intentions, it's about having the right knowledge and understanding as well. And then one can truly make a difference and find the right things in the right place, because there's no point looking for right things in this material world, which as we mentioned, the traditions are generally based off what starts off as a lie. So the right intention has to be guided by correct knowledge, otherwise it's useless. And how can we deal with these dualities as well? These dualities of material nature, they're constant. There's no way you can eradicate them. That is the nature of this world. The dukhalayam asasvatam, we always say from the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, dukhalayam asasvatam. Its material world is a place full of miseries. That is the nature of the material world itself. And Lord Krishna says in chapter 2, Matra sparshāstu kaunteya sītoshna sukha dukkada agamapayano nitya tam titiksasva bharata. Tams titiksasva bharata. Just like the summer and winter seasons come and go and come and go, same with happiness in the material world. These dualities, they come and they go and then they come again. And so instead of trying to eradicate them, instead of trying to live without duality, we should be able to dance titiksasva bharata. We need to tolerate that. O son of Kunti, we need to be able to tolerate these dualities that come. And how can we tolerate this if we look for our happiness somewhere outside of the material world? Somewhere outside of this temporary place, somewhere that's we're not the wrong place. When we look in the right place and we make something spiritual the source of our happiness, then we can develop our spirituality and we can become truly happy. And so the way that Sutapa Prabhu, again, a lot of this is based from his class, he said that he wanted to find a way to get out of this sort of rut that he was stuck in. And the thing that helped him was the Bhagavad Gita. And so I'm just going to speak on the few points that he mentioned. Okay, I have them here. The first thing that Bhagavad Gita establishes is that God, the Almighty, because some people don't like using the word God these days, the Almighty is a person. And he's not some old person who's wizened and sort of got a grey beard and he's very scary and angry. No, he's the sweetest, most loving, most attractive, ever youthful person. The Lord is not someone who wants to scare people with, the Almighty's wrath is something that we all fear. But actually, Bhagavad Gita establishes that Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the kindest and the sweetest. He's the all-attractive person. And he's not just somewhere up there. Sometimes people have this misconception of religion as well. And a lot of times people have this sort of philosophy that God is transcendent. Transcendent. He's outside of this world. You know, he does his own thing up there and he doesn't really get involved down here. But that's not true. And God is not transcendent, but the Lord Krishna is also immanent. He's in the material world and he has a direct effect in the material world. And often when you associate with devotees, you'll hear they say things like Krishna willing, or by Krishna's mercy, or I could do this by Krishna's mercy today, or what did Krishna teach me today by through this example or through this situation. So they're always constantly realizing the presence of the Lord. And not just is the Lord present, but the Lord is proactive. The Lord wants to help his devotee come back to him. And so we can see this and we can feel this, that Lord is a person, he is present, and he's also proactive. And we can understand this through the process of bhakti. So if I just explain that again, we started off with how lies can become tradition. We gave examples of that. We gave examples of how, because the material world is the wrong place to look for right things, we won't get anything out of it. And so we're now focusing on the right place to look for these things. And we can experience this through devotional service or bhakti. So what is bhakti? Many times if I say what is bhakti, I mean, I'd like to see what people put in the chat. How do people define bhakti? People will generally say something along the lines of devotion. Devotional service is how Prabhupada translates it. But bhakti is actually loving devotional service. Loving devotional service. This is the way that Prabhupada translates it. A lot of people just take it and translate it as devotion. But it's loving devotional service. When you do service to someone out of love, you don't mind sacrificing your own needs to please or fulfill the person's needs. When you love someone, then you're willing to go the extra mile for them. And so true bhakti is loving devotional service. And so we need to start off with a little bit more about love. What is love? Love is described by Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the Nectar of Devotion, as Anushilanam. This is just general love. And then this is where you are willing to sacrifice your own needs to satisfy the needs of someone else, and you're happy about that. And now beyond love, there's true love. It's where you're going to go the extra mile, you're going to go sacrifice your own needs, not just to fulfill the needs of the other person, but you don't expect anything in return. And that's very difficult to find. Whenever you do something for someone, even if it be out of love, you sometimes expect, I've done this for that person, now I hope they remember that and they're going to do it back to me. And so then that's called anya bilashita shunyam. This is true love, without any expectation or other desire, without any other motivation. And then beyond true love, Rupa Goswami describes that beyond true love is divine love, Krishnanu. This true love, which is true love directed towards the Supreme. And so Bhakti is this divine transcendental love. This is what true Bhakti is. And an example I've heard recently, I can't remember from who, it was someone from Birmingham, I just remember that. They were giving a class, and they said, imagine that your favorite drink is mango lassi. Your favorite drink is mango lassi and you love it beyond any other drink. I come and give to you a mango lassi. I come and I'll say, out of the surprise, I'll just surprise you and I'll say, no, I got you a mango lassi. And so you'll be very happy and you start drinking it. And then I say to you midway, okay, now can you do this, this and that now that I got you this mango lassi? How do you feel? If I give you the drink and you're midway through drinking it, and then I say, okay, no, the reason I gave you this drink actually, not because I want to give you the drink, but I want you to do this, this and that for me. Then how do you feel? You feel like, why have you even given me the drink in the first place? And you don't enjoy any of it. You feel like, what's the point? You just come with some other desire. So similarly, in our devotional service to the Lord, we shouldn't come with love and devotion and then say, oh, okay, my dear Lord, now please make sure I pass my A levels and get 4 A stars. We can't ask for material desires like that, because then what's the point in that devotion? It negates the idea of it completely. And so instead, we should not have any expectation from the Supreme Lord. We should do it out of our own will. And so this verse I'd like to quote now from Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the first verse. Anya bilashita shunyam jnana karma dhyanavritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttama. When first class devotional service develops, one must be devoid of all material desires, knowledge obtained by monistic philosophy and fruitive action. The devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires. So it goes through the different levels, You can love someone, and then it has to be devoid of all these desires, and then it must be favorable to the Lord. So these are the 3 different levels to love. And when you love Krishna, you end up pleasing everyone. When you please the Lord, you end up pleasing everyone else. And I'm going to give a science example now. When a beam of white light is shone through a trapezium, I've never heard this example before until yesterday. It's shone through a glass trapezium, and the white light splits into all the different colors of the rainbow. Right? That's a visible thing. You can see that. People have seen that time and time again. Nothing new about that. But in the same way, when you channel all your love and devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to Lord Krishna, then just as the trapezium spits that what seems like one color, although it's a mix of colors, what seems like that one beam of light is split into many different beams of light. And so when you please Krishna, then you end up pleasing everyone else. And then we become truly satisfied. A lot of the time in the material world, we end up trying to please others. You try to do this so that that person respects me. I'll do this so that this person likes me. And we do things for others. And so we end up, by doing things for others, we're not pleasing anyone, and instead, even when we get their respect, we want to try and get someone else's respect. Everyone knows that story of the man and his son, and they had a donkey, I think, donkey or horse, donkey, and they're going down the road, and the man and the son are walking, and the donkey is going, and then someone says, "Oh, these guys are so stupid. Why don't they just sit on the donkey? It'll be so much easier." And so they go, "Oh, you know what? That's a good idea. Let's do that." And so they both, the father and son, they sit on this donkey, and then they go down again. As they carry on going, so someone else looks and they say, "Oh, look, now, sorry, no, the sun, only the sun sits. How are you making the sun walk?" So the sun sits on the donkey. I messed up. I'm sorry. And then so as they go along, someone else says, "Wow, look at this child. He's making his father walk while he just relaxes sitting on the donkey." And so they change. So the father now sits on the donkey, and the son is going, and son is walking along. And then someone else says, "Oh, look at how silly these two people are. Why don't they just both sit on the donkey and go forward together? It'll be so much easier." So then the son also gets on the donkey and they start going forward. And then someone else says, "Wow, look at these two people. They have no care for the world. They're just going to sit on this donkey. They don't care how much pressure they're putting on it. They don't care what condition it's in, and they just want to use it to carry on with their journey." And so they say, "Oh, you know what? That's a good idea. You've got a good point. I'm going to try and listen to him." So they get off the donkey, and instead they start carrying the donkey. And as they're walking and they're carrying the donkey over a bridge, they slip, and the donkey falls out of one of their hands and falls into the river. And so the point of this story, this moral story, is that if you try and please people, not everyone's going to be happy. If you try and please one person, someone else is going to be upset. If you try and please another person's going to be upset. Every single person, there's no one that if you please one person, everyone else will become happy. Everyone has these differing opinions. So we shouldn't try to please people at all. Instead, we should focus on pleasing the Lord himself. I'm going to give one other example. I haven't written this down in my notes, but it came to mind. Durvasa Muni. He is a very scary, terrifying sage who's often known for his anger. And he goes, and there's a little bit of backstory about how Duryodhan serves him, but Duryodhan serves him very nicely. Again, an example from Mahabharata. Duryodhan serves him very nicely. And so Durvasa Muni says, "You know what, Duryodhan? I've become very happy by what you've done, and I want to give you a benediction." So Duryodhan says, "Okay, thank you so much for this. You don't have to give any benediction." And Durvasa Muni says, No, I insist. I need to give you something." And so Duryodhan says, "Please go with all your disciples to eat at the house of the Pandavas who are now in exile. But make sure that you go only after Draupadi has finished eating." And so Durvasa Muni thinks this is a strange request, but nevertheless, I will execute this request. Now, the reason the Pandavas were able to get food constantly is because they were given this wonderful Akshay Patra by the sun god. So it's a utensil that produces endless quantity of food, as much as one desires. And the rule is that after Draupadi eats, there's no more food produced for that day. That's it. And then they'll move on to the next day. And so, of course, Draupadi is eaten. And then Durvasa Muni comes with his 60,000 disciples and says, "My dear Yudhishthira Maharaj, I'd like to eat at your residence. I'm going to go and take a bath now in the Ganga. I'm just going to come back and please prepare wonderful feasting arrangements for me." 60,000 disciples he's gone with, by the way. And so Yudhishthira Maharaj is thinking, "My God, Draupadi's already eaten, which means we can't produce any more food. How are we going to get enough food to satisfy 60,000 people plus Durvasa Muni himself? And also, if we can't satisfy Durvasa Muni, he's going to get angry with us and he's going to curse us. What do we do?" And so they're so worried and so scared, and they're thinking, "Oh my God, what have we done? What can we do now? We're in this terrible situation." And so Draupadi, in her distress, she prays to the Lord. And Lord Krishna comes. And no, don't push that much. I can see it. And Lord Krishna comes and he says, "Draupadi, what's wrong? Why are you so upset?" And Draupadi explains the situation. And Lord says, "Is there any little food left in that Akshay Patra, in that utensil? Is there any little bit of food left?" And Draupadi says, no, I washed it. And Krishna says, no, go check. And so Draupadi checks, she looks at the utensil, and lo and behold, there's a little grain of rice that's been stuck to the bottom, along with a small vegetable piece. And so Draupadi said, I've only found this little bit. And so Krishna says, that will be enough. And he takes that and he eats it. And he says, okay, now I'm done. And Draupadi is so confused. Krishna came, he didn't help with the problem, he just ate a little bit of a grain of rice and a little bit of vegetable, and now he's gone. And so they're thinking, oh my God. And Krishna instructs Bhim, by the way, go call Durvasmani. But he just leaves, he just disappears from that place. And so Bhim goes to get Durvasmani. Now on the other side of the story, Durvasmani and the 60,000 disciples, they're bathing in the river. And then all of a sudden, they're so full. They can't eat anymore. They feel like they've just eaten a massive feast. They're full right to the neck. And they're just thinking, what do we do now? Yudhishthira Maharaj is, he's a great devotee of Lord Krishna. If we go there and we can't honor the feast, that's going to become a great offense. And we will lose a lot of our mystic potencies. And then they hear that Bhima's coming and they think, oh my God, Bhim's coming. We'll just go. Let's just leg it. Sorry, leg it is slang. We'll just run. We'll just run out of her. And so they run helter-skelter and they disappear. And when Bhim comes there, there's no one in the river. And so he thinks, okay, that's a bit odd. I thought everyone was here. He goes back home and then he realizes that actually, by pleasing the Lord, everyone else became pleased. And so this is an example of, we start off with love, true love, and then divine love. And by pleasing the Lord, everyone else becomes pleased. So we don't have to try and please everyone else individually. And so that's how we become truly satisfied. So another example, which is watering the root of the tree. If you want to take care of the tree, you can't go and water every leaf and branch. That's not how it works. By simply pouring water at the root of the tree, every other part of the tree becomes nourished. Yata taror mula nisheshanena trupyanti tatskanda bujopashaka. I think that's the word. By watering the root of the tree, the rest of the tree becomes satisfied. So similarly, if we water the root of creation, then the rest of creation will become satisfied. And this is how we can truly become happy ourselves. And so the final thing I'd like to talk about on the road to Bhakti. So now this is why we understood that we need to practice this devotion. Now, there's a progress. Bhakti is itself another journey. There's a practice, so there's different levels to it. We'll break up into 3 different sections, as described again in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion by Rupa Goswami. The first section is sadhana bhakti. This is where we go through practice and discipline. And this is the hardest of them all. And we just feel like, oh, what's the point? Why are we doing this? Sometimes we're like, it becomes a chore. You start chanting and you don't think, oh, I'm going to chant for fun. You think, okay, I've got 16 rounds to do today. I have to do them. And you treat it like a job instead of actually enjoying it. This practice and discipline. You follow the rules and regulations, the 4 regulative principles. No meat eating, no sex, no illicit sex, no gambling, and no intoxication. And so you have to go through what seems like tough practice and develops that self-control. And then after that, you go to bhava bhakti. Bhava bhakti is where you have an emotion, you have that taste, you enjoy practicing devotion to the Lord. And then after this stage, we move on to prema bhakti, which is where you're pure loving service of the Lord. This is pure love, maddened by love. You know how people in the material world become maddened by love? Same thing, we become maddened by love for Krishna. And you can see this, a great example of where people are maddened by love, Chaitanya Charitamrita. A devotee will see a peacock feather. He'll just see a peacock feather, he'll think of Lord Krishna, and he'll faint out of ecstasy. So this is how they're maddened by love. And not just that, people sometimes become a bit skeptical. Okay, you quoted Chaitanya Charitamrita, that's like 500 years ago. What about today? In this day itself, to this very day, we still see devotees that have come through this process and how elevated they have become. And we can see the qualities that they imbibe and they practice. And so we can see that this works, this method works. I myself personally haven't experienced it, but I've seen other people who have gone through it, even in our day. Great, great devotees. Like, just for example, unfortunately, we lost His Holiness Bhakti Maharaj, who passed away from this world. And he is a great example of how devotion, this devotional service, is a bona fide process. It works. He lived by it, and all the qualities of a pure devotee, we can see that he imbibed them. He truly practiced them. And so, for that reason, because most of us, or I'm saying I'm not on that level to speak on Prema Bhakti, we're just going to talk about Sadhana Bhakti, where we practice rules and regulations and understand how we can develop it. So when a cell is infected by a pathogen, like a virus, when a cell is infected by a virus, it can't do normal cell functions. It can't do normal cell activities. Instead, it doesn't work. And it struggles to do normal cell activities. But once the virus has become eradicated from the body, then that particular group of cells or whatever, they'll be able to perform their function. Or similarly, when you get a virus in your computer, when there's a virus in the computer, the program's there, but it just doesn't work as it's meant to. And it struggles to work as it's meant to. But once you get rid of that virus, then the program works just as it's meant to and everything's fine. Similarly, we have become so conditioned by material life that we are struggling to practice spirituality. We think it's difficult. But once we truly start practicing and we have that true determination and we do it regularly, we will develop a taste. We need the important point there is regularly. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. You read the Srimad Bhagavatam regularly. Then you will see that all of these inauspicious things out there in the heart are destroyed. So it's about regular practice of devotional service, although it might be difficult. And how can we start off practicing? We need to start off practicing by doing our own duty and then giving up the result of that action to the Lord. Not anywhere in the Bhagavad Gita is it mentioned, right, to do your duty, you need to leave, go to the Himalayas, go live like a yogi, give up your family, and then you'll be able to go back to Godhead. There's no mention of that. Krishna tells the Bhagavad Gita to Arjun. Arjun's a family man with many wives and children. He doesn't say, stop doing your duty, don't do your job. You shouldn't do a job to practice Krishna consciousness. He's about to fight in a war, and his duty as a Kshatriya, he's about to execute. And Krishna tells him to do that duty. But the important point here is that you give up that result to the Lord. So you spiritualize that action by doing it for the Lord. And so this is very important so we can start practicing and then slowly we can progress from there. So I'd like to hear from the chat, first place, where just examples of how at work, how can we practice Krishna consciousness at work? This is not giving up your work. When you go to work on a day-to-day basis, can we just have examples? I'd like to see some examples of how we can engage in Krishna consciousness by giving up the result of our action for the Lord. So the first person I'm going to ask and put you on the spot, how can we make our actions, if we go to work on a normal working day, 9 to 5 working job, how can we make our actions Krishna conscious and of the results of the Lord?
No, you're asking me?
Yeah.
While driving, I would like to hear something about Krishna.
Right, so while driving, the example I've got here from my dad is while driving, instead of hearing BBC Radio 1 or something like that, we can instead try and listen to the glories of the Lord. Instead of becoming filled with all this negativity that we hear in the modern world, we can try to develop something spiritual. I'm not seeing anything come through in the chat. Please do this is really important that we can try and see how can one make their ordinary life Krishna conscious. Chanting while doing household chores. Perfect example, Madaji. Thank you very much, Shikha Madaji. So it's not that you go and neglect your household if you're a housewife or a husband who's living in the house and taking care of the house. It's that you do that duty, but you spiritualize it. You do chanting. You can put on one of these radios that we sell in temple. Sutapa Prabhu will be happy now with a bit of promotion. He's going to be very happy if he sees this. But we have these radios and they constantly just putting out the name of the Lord, developing that environment, making it better and better. Just put Krishna in the center of life and think of him always. That's an amazing answer, Prabhuji. That's exactly the crux of Krishna consciousness. You've hit the nail on the head. That's what we need to do. You put Krishna in the center of your life and you think of him. You don't change your life. You just put Lord Krishna in the center. Okay, so other examples that work. Has anyone got any other examples? What another example? You can put a Krishna screensaver, or you can put pictures of the Lord on your desk, so that whenever you see the Lord. You can eat prasadam. You can take prasadam from home. When you go to work, you take prasadam from home that you've cooked, and then you can eat that and enjoy that Krishna conscious prasadam there. And passwords. You can put your password as a devotional name, a name of the Lord. So every time you type in Krishna 108, which is a lot of devotees' passwords, I've just given you a lot of intel there. Most devotees have Krishna 108 as their password. If you put in Krishna 108 into your password, then every time you type it in, even though you're not even necessarily thinking about it, you're typing in the name of the Lord. So you end up, every single time you log in, you're thinking about Krishna, you're thinking about his devotee, you're thinking about Radha, you're thinking about Ram, you're thinking about Lakshman. Whenever you put names like that, you end up thinking about the Lord. So by just simply going to work, this one opportunity, even where someone thinks that work is a place where you're busy and you can't do anything, we've just given various examples of how you can actually truly spiritualize that experience. And then in family life, okay, so Shikha Mataji's just put as well, directly about family life, sharing Krishna conscious stories with kids. When you're telling a bedtime story, why not make it about Krishna? If you're reading a book, why not make it Srimad Bhagavatam? Perfect, we got Srimad Bhagavatam on the table. We got Srimad Bhagavatam. This book, people might think, you're not going to get any vocabulary. Srila Prabhupada's purports have everything that we need in them for vocabulary. And, by practicing Krishna consciousness in our day-to-day life, by just simply doing the actions that we do, but just spiritualizing them, doing them for the Lord, then it becomes so much better. So you get the gist of the idea of what I've said now. Always pray, Lord, that all my work results come into his service and having that pure devotional consciousness. Purushottam Prabhu, that's an amazing example. Always pray to Lord that all the work results come into his service. We shouldn't do work that takes us away from him. Instead, we should do something that takes us towards him. Shopping and gardening for Krishna, yes. Amazing example. Shopping, again, when you go to the shops, we always go to the shops anyway to buy things for ourselves. We can use them in the service of the Lord. When you're eating, don't just eat ordinary food, offer it, it becomes prasadam, and then you're sorted. So simply transferring your material life and just adding Krishna into it. So Rajkumar Prabhu explained that perfectly, putting Krishna in the center of your life. And I'd like to finish with one thing that we think so many times, and everyone thinks this at some point every now and then, this is so hard. They can do that, they can do this, it's so much easier for them. Why do I have to give up drinking tea and coffee? Or why do I have to give up, doing this and that? Instead, when we actually truly realize the importance of devotional service, and although it might be a difficult process, the one line quote, or the one phrase I'd like to have repeating over and over in everyone's minds, time and time again, is that spiritual life may seem difficult, but material life is impossible. And when you practice this spirituality, yes, it's difficult at first. You might struggle. You might think, what's the point? But you're not going to get anywhere with material life. That's the end of it. You think, because I'm thinking, okay, first thing that's come to mind, Instagram, right? Obviously, there's a way you can spiritualize your Instagram as well. But a general person's social media feed is full of people just showing off the best versions of themselves. They're putting themselves out here. If you look like this, you're amazing. Or if you act like this, you're amazing. Or if you do this, then you're amazing. And then people think, wow, okay, maybe I need to be like that. If I do that, then I'll be happy. So they become dejected and upset because of these unreal social media standards. Obviously, it's a tool, but it's the way that people use it. And so material life is just impossible. You try and try and try. You're never going to feel content enough. You're always going to want more and more. So the importance of trying spiritual life, and although it might seem difficult at first, as soon as you've got a taste for it, it will become much easier. And you'll become truly content as well. And I'd like to end on 3 things that we can do that will keep us in our Krishna consciousness. The first thing, all the important is the regularity of these 3 things. The first thing is philosophy. You hear lectures, you hear other people talking, you read books, and that strengthens your faith and spirituality and then gives you the right knowledge, so then you can act in the right manner. And so first thing you need to do is you just at least a little bit every day, 1 class maybe per day. You know, we have this Mayapur TV, which is a wonderful facility where you can hear classes and lectures and temples from all over the globe. And now even from Zoom, you can just put a class on and you can listen to it at any time of the day, doing whatever you need to do. Philosophy keeps you on track. Then the second thing, the right people, the right friends, the right associates. You don't need a group of 30 different devotees to help you. You just need 1 close friend, 1 person that you can tell everything to, that you can open your heart to, and that person who's looking from a Krishna conscious perspective pushes you and keeps you on track and makes sure that you're doing the right thing. I've just seen we've gone 55 minutes and might be running a bit over time. I apologize for that. And the final thing that you need after people who are keeping you on track is prasadam. Whatever you do, don't eat material food. Don't eat from material places. Offer the food that you're going to eat, offer it to the Lord. Patram pushpam phalam toyam. We've gone through that verse so many times. You've heard the various examples of the various devotees. I can't understate this point. Eat only prasadam. These 3 things will guarantee going back to spiritual mode. Philosophy keeps you on track. Correct friends keep you on track. And prasadam will keep you on track. Sometimes what we do is we only take prasadam and we don't do the other 2 things. It's important we have these 3 things on a regular basis. If not daily, we should be doing it as much as possible. And the final thing is Krishna consciousness. Sutapa Prabhu says it's like the mafia. You know, when you're in the mafia, you can't come out, no matter what you do. Even if you want to leave, you've got sources and links in there, you can't leave. That's it. And when you have those types of friends, I'm going to give from my example, my personal experience. I was joining a Sangha in London over Zoom, and they're doing this wonderful initiative called a 6-minute diary. And I was joining that, and then for 2 weeks, 1 week I was busy, the other week I was ill, and then I couldn't do. So for 2 weeks, I missed. And the amount of people from that group, I think there's 4 or 5 people that contacted me just to say, Haribol Smith, you're doing well, are you doing okay? You know, is everything all right? And then you think, wow, you know, when I have a friend like this and I have a group like this, there's no way I can leave. So now, whether I want to or I'm not, I'm stuck in that group and I'm so grateful for it. And so this is the importance of Krishna consciousness. Spiritual life might be difficult, but material life is impossible. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Haribol. Okay, any questions, comments, or corrections, please do ask in the class. Yeah, we do have time for questions, Prabhu. 1 minute. So, Anuradha Madhya, you just talk to Krishna about your problems, and he shows you the path. Have faith, do not test him, you have to trust him. That's true. That's a very good point. Yes, we should. I totally agree with that, except for one thing. Sometimes when Lord puts us through tests, if we don't have the right devotee association, we end up losing faith. When you're in association, I can't understate this, when you're in association of devotees, because of that association, you will naturally rise and develop. Yes, even if there are some things that you can't tell other devotees, just by being with them in that consciousness, talking about things about Krishna. If you talk in a mundane group, you will talk about politics and other things like this. Interesting, but not going to get you anywhere in life. When you're with devotees, then it will just elevate you. Okay, Raj Kumar Govind Prabhu, let's got a question. Can a devotee desire to go back home, back to Godhead, or shall he just perform devotional service to please Krishna and not thinking of whether he goes back to Godhead? Can a devotee desire to go home, back to Godhead? Yes. In some philosophies, they say, desire, you should get rid of your desires, you know? In some of these monistic philosophies or other philosophies, they say, like, one should be desireless. But we can't become desireless. So instead, we should desire the right things. If you're greedy, be greedy in Krishna consciousness. I want to serve the Lord more. I want to do this for the Lord. Be greedy in Krishna consciousness. if you want to have a desire, then you have desires in the material world like everyone else does, just spiritualize it. The desire should be, this is my goal. This is my sadhya. Sadhya means goal. This is my goal. And how am I going to get to that sadhya? Through sadhana. Sadhana means practice and discipline. I've got one more.
Prabhu's question is that, pure bhakti,
Pure
can
bhakti.
he desire
Yes.
to go have liberation, or he just perform only pure devotion? Because you're mentioning about.
Oh, okay, pure devotee, sorry.
Yeah.
So
we don't want to ask anything from the Lord.
We don't want to ask anything from the Lord.
So,
but
is it okay to desire?
That is a level beyond me, much beyond me. But yes, the pure devotees, they don't even think about liberation. They don't think about leaving the material world. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's consciousness is time and time again, give me more and more birth so I can serve the Lord. That is a level much further beyond me. That's pure devotional service. But I can only speak from my side, which is that devotee can desire to go home back to Godhead, but a pure devotee might not have the desire. Pure devotee is so elevated in Shikshashtakam. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is praying, I don't even want to get liberated. Mama janmani janmani shre bhavata bhaktir ahaitakitva. Bhavata bhaktir, I want to become your devotee. Janmani janmani shre. Time and time again, in birth and death, I just want to be your devotee. And that's the only thing I want. So, I believe that is it. If there are any more questions, and if there are any more questions, we will please do put them in the comments. We do look at comments and we do respond to them. Thank you very much, Brother Kumar Govind Prabhu. Again, I'm only a product of the devotees' mercy. Your mercy is the only reason I'm able to do this so well. And thank you so much, Purushottam Prabhu. And so, if there's only one learning point you can take from this, just remember this point time and time again. I said it yesterday, and I'm going to say it again. Spiritual life might seem difficult, but material life is impossible. Hare Krishna. Next week, we are starting a series where we do Bhagavad Gita chapter summary. And so we've focused on this wonderful Mahabharata characters. And obviously, we're taking a little bit of a D route now after Kunti Maharani prayers. But now we're going to go to not just the wide range of the Mahabharata, but we're going to focus and zoom in on the gem, which is inside the Mahabharata. These 700 verses of the Bhagavad Gita, we will do chapter by chapter. So the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is the chapter we'll be discussing next week. And we'll go through the main points in that chapter, how the chapter flows, and what we can learn from it and apply in our own life. So please do stay tuned for that. Hopefully that means by hopefully November time, September, October time, sorry, we should have finished through Bhagavad Gita. But again, it will take time. We're going to do one chapter per week. The bigger chapters, we will see how we manage them later. But we're now going to start focusing from Mahabharata. We're going to zoom directly into that bit just before the start of the war in the Bhishma Parva and look at these 700 verses called the Bhagavad Gita, Song of God. So thank you so much for everyone's support. Thank you everyone in the chat. Ram Prabhu, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shikha Mataji. Thank you so much, Lakshman Prabhu as well. Shashi Mataji and Radha Mataji and Purushottam Prabhu and everyone else that's also been watching and staying tuned. And so we will end this session for today. Please do join us next week, 4 o'clock, same place, i.e. your own home. Find us on YouTube and prasadam will be served at your own home. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.